Hi all, I'm Ben Ryan and I'm Engineering Manager at Atlassian. Today I'm going to be talking to you about innovation and dogfooding with the Atlassian COMMENTI. This talk will have two split sections. The first will be a little bit of an overview of how we innovate and dogfood at Atlassian to give you some context. And second, running through one of the innovation projects I recently did, where we built a Forge COMMENTI. This is a beginner track, so we're going through a lot of the detail of how Forge works and not so much about how the business logic we did with the Forge COMMENTI. Let's get into it. Now, throughout my career, I've had different levels of investment of innovation dedicated. As you can see, I think you can pick when I actually joined Atlassian. Now, first off, I started my career in tech support, where I spent most of my time turning computers on and off. So very little investment in innovation was made there. Second was a PHP web dev firm, where we spent most of our time working with marketing, which would come up with some crazy ideas with to work out innovative solutions to make it work within budget and on time. Next was consulting, where we did some amazing work with some large enterprises, did some very innovative solutions, but due to the nature of consulting, I had very little time to dedicate to actually working on product innovation. And lastly, Atlassian. Here, I was in less than a year. I've spent multiple times on innovation weeks, creating some really cool products and fixing a few features, and also ship-its, where we've actually managed to win a few prizes. Now, Atlassian works under 5 innovation principles. 1, innovation creativity exists in everyone, not just your designers or engineers, but also HR, sales, procurement. All can come up with innovative solutions that helps their area of the business. 2, diversity of thought, skill, and background is essential for innovation. So you don't just have your key engineers in one room, you need to have other people with outside context as well, helping out. Innovation can't be forced, so you can't just throw a team in and say, yep, innovate, come back with me something in a week later. It doesn't work like that. 4, we need to let people time and space to let the creative juices flow. And 5, we also believe that great human achievements are accomplished by teams. Now, one of the more famous ways we innovate at Atlassian is Ship It, or it used to originally be called FedEx Days. One good example is from one Ship It, we've created Jira Service Manager, which is a huge product that we all use today. Now, we actually have a Ship It coming up soon, which is everyone's really looking forward to. From our previous Ship It in December, I was actually took part in it and was in a team, which is called Which Team Is There in the Office Today? And we actually came 10th, which I'm super proud of. The whole idea of Ship It is it's a 24-hour hackathon where everyone from the whole company gets dedicated time over 2 days to come in, do their Ship It. We all vote on the overall solution, and the winners, there's quite a different variety of winners, but the one big one you want to win is the People Choice Award. Now, from December results, we had, I think it was around 312 projects. Within APAC, we had about 81 to vote on, which you can see on the left-hand side. And from all the regions, we had about 51 were shipped or completed in 20% time, which I thought was a good result. Now, the upcoming Ship It we're about to work on, we've actually tried something new, trying to focus our attention on some key challenge areas, about 8 areas, and each have their own desired outcome. And it's actually some really good prizes where some people are winning MetaQuest 2s or Remarkable 2s or some gift vouchers. Let's move over to dogfooding. So apparently back in the day, there was a CEO of a dog food company that would go around and try and get investments and actively eat their dog food, saying how good it was. In the product dog fooding world, this potentially came back from Microsoft, where an exec named Paul Maritis sent an email to the testing manager with the subject, eating our own dog food. Now, in our context, building Forge apps and the Forge platform, we actively do this now, where we build features and we actively test it to make sure that if we like it, there's more chance that you as your developers will enjoy it too. Now, the 4 key areas that we do active dogfooding are below. So day 1, when we onboard into the ecosystem platform team, we are encouraged to build a demo, an app on Forge and demo this to our monthly demos. I did this and actually found a few issues with our documentation around scopes and fed it back to the appropriate team, which they updated and fixed accordingly, which is great. It works. Number 2, we're actively moving Atlassian apps from Connect to Forge. So a good example is Who's Looking. That's on the marketplace, which you can download now, and it's actually now all on Forge. If you already have that app installed, you can upgrade it from the major version, and you'll also get that now on Forge. 3rd is Forge Club from our team in Poland. They're running active dogfooding. Everyone gets on a roster. If you turn on the roster, you build a Forge app, whatever you can come up with. Once you're done, you demo it back to the team and write a little bit of a blog post of your experience and any areas of improvement. And finally, you get some cool swag to go with it. Who doesn't love swag? Last is innovation weeks, which I love. So every 8 weeks, we get to download tools and work on areas that we want to improve within our team, ecosystem, or Atlassian. I've actually won 2 of the last 3 I've been in, which I thought was really cool. Humble brag there. Building the Forge Karma bot. This is going to be the bulk of the session. It is a beginner track, so some of the areas will be very detailed on some of the key functions of Forge. So first things first, what is Forge? So when you come to cloud, you've got 2 options. You have Connect or you have Forge. Connect allows you to call product APIs, but you need to host the whole application on your end yourself, which does require a lot of architecture and potentially a new cloud hosting provider. With Forge, we flip that on the head. You focus on building apps and not infrastructure. So we'll take care of all the infrastructure for yourself, as I'll show you shortly. That means a huge chunk of maintenance is now no longer with you, without vendor, and more that's on our side to manage. We're continually improving the development toolkit and trying to make it world-class. And lastly, we're adding more and more products onto the Forge platform as time goes on. If you want to find out more detail, you can go to the link below and do your own research. Now, the format of Innovation Week, it's very much like Ship It, but it's over 4 to 5 days, where it's a giant hackathon. All of the ecosystem join in. Overall, the requirements are pretty loose. Just make sure you focus on something that will benefit our ecosystem team, or the vendors, yourself, or Atlassians. We're thinking about doing some themes in the future to focus on certain key areas that we want to improve on within Forge. Overall, you need to try and ship something if you have time, or at a minimum, submit a 3-minute YouTube video to demonstrate what you've completed, who you completed it for, and the key outcomes. And there's also a small prize to give out to the top 3 teams, but most of all, you get the bragging rights and get your names on the Hall of Fame. So karma. What is karma? As defined by Oxford, the sum of a person's actions in this and previous states of existence, viewed as deciding their fate in future existences. What does karma mean for Atlassians? Well, if you look on the right-hand side, my first day at Atlassian, I had an instant association with what Atlassian karma was. As I was welcomed on board, I was given karma. So as you can see from David Boyd, welcome, Benny, +++. From that, automatically Atlassian karma comes back and says, Ben, you increased your karma to 5. So it's a representation of how useful or helpful you've been throughout your career at Atlassian, and that score stays with you. You can do pluses, which gives you positive karma, and you can do negatives if you do negative karma, but you don't see that too often. Now, this was originally built for Stride and KitChat days, and luckily it was recreated in 2019 for Slack by Diek. Thank you very much. So, the goals of this Forge Karma bot we're going to build today. 1, we want it to be in context, provide karma in context of Confluence blog or Jira issue. So the issue at the moment is someone does a really cool blog post, you find the relevant Slack channel, copy the link from the page you found, and action the karma. Wouldn't it be better if you just, on that blog post, write a comment and you're done? That's what we're going to build today. We also wanted to bring Karma to more products. So initially we bring it to TRIGGERI and Confluence. There's other products in our ecosystem that potentially want to add to in the future. And lastly, we wanted dog food Forge. I'm actually from the webhooks processor team, and I wanted to actually build out product events and see how they can be leveraged in an actual app and push it to its limit from a high traffic internal app. So this is what we actually created. This is from the blog post. We announced the release of it to PAVLOAD, which is our internal Atlassian Confluence site. As you can see, very simple. I put +++ after Jai, and instantly I get instant reply from Atlassian Karma providing the update, which is awesome. And we can see this being actively used since the Feb 15th across all our blog posts, which is great to see. Now, Forge, these are the following 3 key areas we want to focus on through our demonstration. 1, product events. Product events are generated when users perform actions in Atlassian products. So in our example, when a comment is made, we'll trigger our Forge app to do a function. 2, we use product authentication. This will allow us to call out to product APIs. So we're using Confluence in this example to get more detail about the actual content of the comment. And second, creating a comment on Confluence. 3rd, fetch API. This allows us the ability to call out to external APIs, which we will need in a second. Now the architecture. How will it all work? So existingly, we had the Atlassian Karma, which was hosted on Micros, and Micros is a wrapper for running on EC2 instance. Second, we have Slack, which we have the Karma bot running on. Now we want to add a new element to this, the Forge Karma bot. This will integrate to Confluence and Jira and take inputs from them via product events. We'll then use our fetch command to call out to the API written on Atlassian Karma, Micros. And thirdly, we need to add a new service to the whole flow, which is called roll call. This will allow us to translate the ability, so Forge Karma bot understands Atlassian IDs, Atlassian Karma Micros understands Slack IDs, and we needed a way to translate that. So we pass across the Atlassian ID to roll call. It'll give us an email address in transit, and then we'll get the correct Slack ID from Slack, and both we can marry them up, and now we can update the Atlassian Karma. Awesome, we're getting there, team. For this demo, we'll just focus on the Confluence flow due to time. Now, this is the plan we're going to run through the demo. We're going to run through creating a Forge app, trigger our Forge app via Confluence, comment, read a comment from Confluence, create a comment on Confluence. Then we'll run through some business logic of how we read only Karma-based events. We'll call a request to Atlassian Karma Micros, and finally we'll promote this app to Forge production. Now we'll focus on just the Forge features here during this demo, as we have very little time to get through it all. Now, first things first, you need to install the Forge CLI. It's very simply, if you use npm, install it. We can use it global or not, but for example, we'll use global here and Forge CLI. Then you need to log into Forge. You need a Atlassian account with us and also an API token. And lastly, you'll need a cloud site. Luckily, I've set one up before, but you can get one here for free. First things first, let's create your Forge app. So in your terminal, write Forge space create, enter your name of the app. Now there's a long list of templates you can grab from, and this will automatically set up to the Forge app to what you need. In our example, we'll be using a pro trigger. Instantly, it's all created for you, and then you can log in to that directory. In that directory, you've got a few key files we'll run through in a second. One is the index.jsx, and here we have an example of how a function is called. We have a run function, which has an event and a context. And package.json looks very small at this stage. We'll add to it shortly. So the general terms, we try to use TypeScript in all our builds here in the Eco platform team. So we'll add TypeScript to our Forge app as well. So we renamed index to confluence.ts, Second is Word package.json. We've added the ability for TypeScript in there. And lastly, we've added tsconfig.json to make it all work. Next step, let's trigger our Forge app via Confluence comments. So in the documentation, we have the ability to see a created event for Confluence, which is great. Second, we need OL scopes. This defines what sort of scopes we want to use for a Forge app and also allows the site admin to understand what our app is doing and what data it has access to. Now the manifest, by default, from the template we used, is set up for Jira. As you can see, a trigger, this is what event it's listening to. And function, this is what it will call out to on when an event is sent through. Last is the app ID. This is generated when you first create your app. This is unique to yourself and who you logged in as. So if you have multiple people in your team, you'll need multiple entries of here and you comment out each ID depending on who's using it. A bit more detail below by the link you can see here. Now you want to update this for Confluence event triggers. So we'll go to the trigger section in the manifest and we'll update it to the one we found from the documentation, which is the Abby Confluence created comment. And we'll also update the function to call our confluence.ts file, which we have a run function inside. We also update our confluence.ts to include a log so we can see what happens coming from the event and context. Simple, right? Now let's deploy it by forge deploy to push it to our environment. And instantly we got an error from our linting. So it looks like we've got those scopes. Don't worry, we can fix that quite easily. So for the power of our Forge CLI, you can write forge lint, and fix, and that will fix our manifest automatically. How easy is that? So we open the manifest and we can see permissions and scopes, and they're all sitting there correct for us. Thank you very much, CLI team. Let's run forge deploy again. As you can see, lint passed and deployed to our dev environment. Awesome, we're making progress. Now we're going to push our app to an actual site. So we can use a command called forge space install. We can select the product, instance of using Confluence. We use a site, so I have a test site already set up for us. And that we have to confirm that we agree to the scopes that are listed. And once we say yes, installation is complete, and we can go double check that it's actually installed. Now, as I tell my wife, we always trust but verify. So you can log into your dev console, so your site console, and log into apps, manage apps. And as you can see here, we can see the Forge Karma bot is definitely installed. Awesome. Next step, Forge Tunnel. This is be your friend throughout your development on Forge apps. Allows you to see logs coming through from your console.log instantly in your terminal. So let's run this now. As you can see, it spins up the Docker image. Linting is all good, bundles the code, and we're good to go. Now let's actually throw down a message on my site, on a test page I created. It worked. As you can see with invocation here with an ID, and it's called out confluence.run. And this is the data we come back here, which is great. We have the comment ID, which we'll need shortly, and also the page ID it's coming from. Lastly, a comment can either come from a footer, which is done here, or an inline comment. Now, that comment event coming through is actually a thin comment. It doesn't actually contain the comment we put there. So we actually need to call out to Confluence to get the full details of what came through. So that's what we'll do now. Read a comment from Confluence. Back to documentation, you can see there is a get content function, which we'll need to use. So we'll need to first import API and route, which we'll need to actually call out to Confluence from our Forge API dependency. Second, we're going to build a whole new function called fetch comment. Now the key parts we'll talk through here are, one, you have a nice little wrapper here called as app. This will call our next function on behalf of the app. You also have an option to call as user. But for our instance here, as we're getting invoked by events, we're using as app. Second wrapper we have here is request Confluence. Now this will take care of all the authorization you need to call out to Confluence, which is awesome. And lastly is the route. This is actually the URL we'll call out to the actual API. We're passing a few extra params here to give us the correct body elements we need for our call. Now here we'll do a simple console.log to see the output of what's going on here. Whoops, we forgot OAuth scripts again after calling forge deploy. So thank you very much, Linter. So we'll quickly fix that. We'll do a forge lint fix. You can see a new scope is included. Now something slightly different than before is we need to do another forge deploy, and that will tell us that, hey, you need to do an upgrade. Upgrade, make sure that as a site admin, we agree to the new scopes being deployed. Let's do that right now. So we did a forge install upgrade. It confirmed that yes, we have a new scope here called content details Confluence. Then we accept that, and upgrade is now complete, which is great. Let's throw down another message. Show me the message. Hit submit. And instantly, we can see a lot more data now, which is great. We can see the actual message that we sent down. Show me the message, which is what we need. Now we did a little bit more digging, and we put in another console.log in to get the actual text coming out, so we can actually tackle it. Throw another message down, and boom, show me another message, please. Is shown in the console. Well done. We've closed off another task on our list. So next, we need to actually create a comment on Confluence. Let's get into that. So back to our faithful documentation. As we can see here, we have a post command, which allows us to write data to Confluence. It's exactly what we need. So let's create a new function called create Confluence comments. Here we have a lot of JSON. Thank you statement. So first off, we have a new message. Second, we have a body of that message, which we put under a paragraph and include the text message. Second, we have the actual body, which we need to create, which has a few key parts in it. One is understands the container, which is the page, and its page ID, which we had from our previous message. We also have ancestors, so we can actually do a reply to the comments, which is great. So we pass the parent comment ID. And lastly, we format the message to the key format it requires. Now we call off to as app again, and we request Confluence, our favorite wrapper, and we route to the exact API we need as a post method. Oops, here we have scopes again. I won't bore you with this process, but as you can see here, we put another scope here called write content Confluence, and we'll jump through this section. So let's reflect. One, we can trigger a forge function based on comments, which is great. Two, we can fetch the data of the comment from Confluence using ASAP and request Confluence. And three, we can create a comment, I think. So I've made a very, very clear mistake, which I actually did during Innovation Week, which shocked me. So let's create a very first comment response and press save. Yep, I created an infinite loop. So we listen to an event, we get the detail of that comment, then we create a comment, which then creates another event. We listen to that comment, and then we post another comment. As you can see, this infinite loop started. So to fix this, I quickly commented out the new function I had, and it stopped, which was great. So we have all the building blocks. Even though they're problematic, we still have them in place. Now, let's jump ahead to day 4 of our project, the finished code. So we're going to show you how we fixed our issue of infinite loops by reading only karma-based events. So you can see on the left-hand side, we've got a lot more files here. So day 4 of our project. And one key area used to stop the fact of infinite loops during some mechanism we have is actually using our regex, which we gladly stole from the Atlassian Karma team. And also we built this into our app. So basically, when we get a karma amount, we validate the regex is correct and we are receiving a karma request. If we don't get a karma request, we just simply drop that event. Simple, right? Here we have some simple regex that does the matching for us. So we can stop infinite loops and we actually can read karma now, which is great. Now we'll make a request to Atlassian Karma Micros. Just a reminder where we are. We've built the Forge Karma bot. We've done the Confluence integration. Now we're going to be calling off to Atlassian Karma via a new API we built with them called API Forge Karma. So in the manifest, due to security reasons, you need to document your egress. So we put external fetch backend, and this is not the actual URL we called, and I wouldn't look it up if I was you, but yeah, this example URL is there. Now we had a new class here called Atlassian Karma with that URL mentioned above, which we put in the egress rules, which will allow us to call out to that and actually implement the Karma updates, positive or negative, for that user. So simply we use await API.fetch, and that will make a call out to that API. And we actually use an environment variable for security here called xkarma secret, which we could store via the CLI, which I won't cover over today, but it is documented in the documentation. Now we have the bulk of the app done, which is awesome. Well done, team. Now we'll approach the app to Forge production and what's involved with that. Now, quickly, how do environments work? We have development, staging, and production, which is set up as soon as you create your Forge app. A development environment is used for your dev work, so you access a tunnel, which no other environment gets access to, and you have the CLI to deploy and install. Staging is your staging environment, which you can do your CLI install and your deploy. And production's where the magic happens, which you can do deploy and install to, but you can also create an installation link, which you can give out to other sites to install your app, or use Marketplace to distribute your app as a free or paid app. Now, step 1000A. So we've done a lot of work here in the back. So promoting your finished app to production. Use Forge deploy -E production to define your environment. You're going to deploy to development, staging, or production. Here we'll do production. And once it's done, we give you a bit more information. So you can use in Forge install if you're the admin of that site. Or you can use what we like to use here as a developer console to share and distribute your app via a link, which we'll do in a second. So in the developer console, you need to make sure your distribution controls are updated. So there's a bit of information about your app and your privacy in terms of service and what sort of data it can have access to. Sorry. Once that's created, you can get access to an installation link. Here we'll generate one for Confluence, and this is what it looks like. Awesome. We have a way to distribute our app. It gives links to privacy and security, support contacts for creating service desk tickets, and lastly, the scopes that we defined. So the site admin has a clear understanding of what data your app can access. Amazing, team. We have a working app. We did it. So we actually shipped this Karma bot to all of Atlassian on the 15th of Feb with some great feedback. And it's been used currently all over Atlassian. You can see as we log into blog posts and see the comment section, we definitely see action there, which is great. From the dev console, we can see some key metrics. So luckily, well done, team. We got 0 errors. And number 2, we can see some key invocations. So it looks like April 28th got to over 4,000 invocations, which is awesome. So you can see it's definitely being used. So areas missed from the demo. We didn't do the Jira flow, obviously, due to time. Now, if you did do the Jira flow, you'd have to install your app twice currently, and hopefully that will be improved in the future. That means you install a Confluence site and then also the Jira site to get that working for both. And lastly, I didn't go through the Atlassian Karma service updates, but there were several updates and APIs we need to extend on their end to accept our Forge Karma bot. Big shout out to the team that helped build this app during Innovation Week. So Jai, who came up with the idea and helped run the team, who works in ecosystem. And we had 2 amazing interns, Jenny and Kyla. Thank you very much. Now, one final outcome from this Confluence spot we built. We saw the issue that we had the infinite loop, and that required us to build logic in, which we did actually need at the end of the day. But if you didn't want to build logic in, our team had been spiking with the fact of building a suppression method via a filter. So potentially you could add on the right-hand side, you can see filter, ignore self true, and ignore other apps true. And that will allow you, so your app will never be, invoked if you've put these two flags on, and only customer invocations will be triggered. So hopefully we can spike that out and actually get that through production. But at the stage, it's not quite clear if we'll be doing that just yet. That's a cool way to dog food and see how we build apps and find future solutions through our development. Thank you very much for coming to listen to my dev talk, all about the Forge, KarmaBot, and innovation and dog fooding. Now, I'd like to call out if you can go off and build your own Forge app and really experience what I've shown you today, and maybe even a blog post on our dev community so you can give us an update of how your experience was, what you enjoyed, and what we can do to improve the overall experience. Now go off and enjoy the rest of your developer day. Thank you.